Then the Lord answered Job out of the storm. He said, Job 38 verse 1, hearing the voice of God. This is so detailed, we might not be able to go through all of it because it is chapter 38, 39, 40, and 41. God is speaking to Job. But I would like us to highlight some of the good advantages you get when the Lord speaks to you. Number one, if you look at Job 38 verse 2, he says, who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. So key number one, why you need the voice of God is because the voice of God reveals to you your intellectual limitations. Yes, we have gone to school, but there is nothing academic in the world that can defeat the counsel and the knowledge of God. If you read throughout the poetic book of Job, actually it's the oldest book in the Bible, there were conversations between Job and his three friends when they come to see him after they received the report of how the life of Job has turned out to be. That is Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. But if you look at all of them, they are arguing about who knows what better than the other. But when the Lord spoke, he questioned, who is this that speaks without knowledge? And if you read through the book of Job, it contains poetic and parabolic statements. And the Lord comes and it says, who is this questioning my knowledge? So key number one, why we need the voice of God, because the voice of God elevates our intellectuality to the supernatural level. Because that's why he says, your thoughts are not my thoughts. So when he speaks, you start now functioning in the vibration of the mind of the one who is speaking. That is major. Number two, why do you need the voice of God? The voice of God takes you through the creation matrix. If you may consider verse 4, he says, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone? Or the morning stars sang together and the angels shouted for joy? Now this is God, the voice of God, taking Job through the creation matrix, creation technology. So if God speaks to you, you can be able to understand the mystery of the creation of God, and especially the manifold wisdom of the mystery of the man God. man God. So the moment you hear the voice of God speaking, that voice is able to transport you into the ancient of days and is able to transport you and experience God, while in the factory they are drawing the map, the design, the plans on how the earth will look like, and you can see the way he is doing the constructions, laying the foundation. Then you can see the way he is building. The voice of God takes you to that. That is why we need to hear God speaking. If you look at Job 39 and verse 1, he says, do you know when the mountain goats give birth? Do you watch when the door bears her fawn? Do you count the months till they bear? Do you know the time they give birth? They crouch down and bring forth their young. Their labor pains are sealed. Their labor pains are ended. Their young drives and grow strong in the world. They live and do not return. Okay. Another reason why you need the voice of God is the voice of God teaches you or opens you to understanding the birthing programs or birthing system. If you read through the book of Ecclesiastes, he said that there are things that we do not know about. In Ecclesiastes 11 and verse 5, as you do not know the path of the wheat, or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things. But now the Lord is taking Job into the labor ward of wild animals, labor ward of different type of animals, and he is teaching him now how they enter into labor pain, how they give birth, and they do not have a midwife. They do not have a gynecologist. So the Lord teaches you through the birth or birthing knowledge of God in recreation. So you are able now to understand how our destinies made, conceived, formed, designed, and are caused to manifest. The voice of God. If you look at Job 40, he says in verse 7, the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm, the whirlwind, and he said, brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. If you look at verse 15, look at the behemoth which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. And then in Job 41 verse 1 says, can you pull in the Leviathan with a fish hook, or tie down his tongue with a rope? So another reason why you need to know to hear the voice of God, because the voice of God reveals to you demons that are deeper in terms of their principality and authority, and how you can defeat them. Now the Lord is teaching Job that there exists behemoth and Leviathan. So meaning, despite Satan fighting life of Job, the Lord was telling him the agent of implementation was an energy called behemoth and an energy called Leviathan. And the Lord was telling Job, these two, there is no means or ways of defeating them. So the voice of God teaches you about the deep secrets of the demonic systems in their ranking of authority. How did Job position himself to hear the voice of God? We have so many things we can talk about Job, but majorly is integrity. You remember his wife told him, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. So integrity, if you stand on the altar of integrity,